I've got to share a couple of things. First, I think I know what the game is. I felt like this thing with Ukraine there's something wrong, something really wrong that I've been missing. And I think I figured it out yesterday. And I want to share that with you. But I also need to explain that last phone call because I think that's confusing if you don't know all of it. So I need to explain that at the top of this coming hour. And I think it will really clear up your understanding of what's going on. I think the guy we have on right now, Christopher Bedford, he's a founding partner of RightForge, senior editor at the Federalist. I think this will help clarify a few things, too. He wrote an article the other day, "The ruling class is a far greater threat to Americans than Russia is." Wanted to get Chris on the phone now to explain that because I think he's right on. Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Very good. Very good. So lay out your case here.
My case is that there's been a lot of hot takes that have been coming out. Everyone who's had access to a keyboard has switched from being an expert on healthcare to suddenly being an expert on Ukraine and Russia.
And war.
And war, exactly, strategy. And one of the things that's really surprised me is that there's accusations of treason that have been floating around toward anyone who they suspect of being insufficiently enthusiastic for the White House and having an insufficient hatred of Vladimir Putin and all the evil that he represents. Yeah. And they're trying to get the United States into a somewhat of a war footing and a rally around the flags thing. And they're pushing themselves as real defenders of the West. You see the Germans coming up, the French, led by President Biden, saying we must defend the West. And there's just something that rings very hollow in their bugle calls. I was trying to figure out exactly what it was in an argument with some friends who think differently from me. And what's strange is just last week, they were saying that our flag was racist, that Western civilization was patriarchal, that the Star-Spangled Banner was not inclusive, that Western civilization was built on blood and tears, that the land was stolen from the Indian tribes, that we must apologize, that we are a bad force. So suddenly to see them turn around so swiftly and say, we must defend the West, to watch that speech last night, which might as well have been the State of the European Union, for the first half of it.
Yes.
So watch that and see him say, well, we're winning this war. The West is united. We're dumping out our vodka in Virginia and Texas. I just don't see it. There's something really strange here. And I know down in my core that all the people who are trying to get up there to get patriotic, all the conservatives, the working class people, the Christians, those are people that they loathe. And they dislike us. They hate our civilization. So I'm not buying it.
Do you have an explanation? Because I'm with you. I'm 100%. Something is very wrong. I mean, first of all, I don't know, Chris, how old are you?
35.
Okay. I'm old enough to actually remember getting the films at school where they showed the nuclear blast. And I mean, I'm in third, fourth grade watching this going, I don't think hiding under the desk is going to help us. I remember going to sleep thinking 18 minutes, the whole world could be blown up in 18 minutes. Terrifying. I haven't thought of nuclear war and nuclear holocaust since the wall fell down up until last week. And we were talking about a little invasion, then all of a sudden World War III and possible nuclear war. And I'm like, wait, what?
It's like the White House wants to take the COVID chip out of everyone's brains and immediately insert the Ukraine-Russia chip into everyone's brains to get everyone suddenly going again. And I'm looking at this exactly like you're saying. How did we get here? And by the way, as far as advice goes, the CDC just wants you to know that in case of nuclear holocaust, stay 6 feet apart and wear a face mask.
Yeah, I know. Well, they did clarify yesterday, said that wasn't new advice. I'm like, oh, good. So they were thinking about that before anyone was thinking about nuclear war. What an even a bigger waste of money and time.
So, and I'm looking at the Ukrainian conflict, and I'm seeing some awful things. I'm seeing some real heroism. I'm seeing pastors and priests who go out into the battlefield and give their lives, and men and women who are willing, young and old, who are willing to pick up arms. I'm seeing a lot of heroism and a lot of belief in their civilization that I'm not seeing here in the United States. In the United States, Vladimir Putin's not threatening me. He's not freezing truckers' bank accounts or making 3-year-old children wear masks or putting Australians into internment camps or drag queens into school libraries or forcing vaccinations or closing churches or arresting priests or bankrupting businesses or prosecuting Christian bakers, emptying prisons, defunding police. That's what our ruling class is doing. And I'm saying there's a little bit of envy that I think a lot of folks look at when they look at someone like Vladimir Putin. They look at the defenders of Ukraine and they say, these are people who, right or wrong, believe in their civilization, believe in their cause, think that they're right, are willing to fight for their civilization. And meanwhile, what we have here in the West is a bunch of people actively trying to suicide our civilization, to destroy it, attacking us all the time, trying to make an enemy that's outside of us, an other. The entire State of the Union the first third of the State of the Union being devoted to these ideas. I just don't buy it. When they say that the borders of Ukraine are inviolable, but to defend our border is racist. When they say that Putin's claims, right or wrong, for territorial ancestral lands in Ukraine, that those are ridiculous, but they teach our children that they have to apologize because these lands were stolen. It should not be surprising to them when they turn around and say, why haven't you all stepped up to the line? Why haven't you gotten ready to fight for us? Why haven't you gotten ready to fight Russia? And we just sit back and say, why would I fight for you? You don't have the moral authority to rule. You're an illegitimate ruler, and I'm not interested in following you to war.
Have you read Alexander Dugin, Fourth Political Theory?
I haven't.
You need to. It'll answer a lot of questions, and it will also tell you how bright and with the people these guys in Russia. And I think he is an evil guy. Number one thing is to destroy America and destroy the West. And he really wants to bring on Armageddon. The guy is out of his mind, nuts. But he has Putin's ear. He's the guy who really formulated the Crimea invasion. And a lot of what Putin was saying in his crazy speech a week and a half ago was all language from Dugin. And he is trying to get in and pick up all of the scraps all over the world, mainly in Europe, but some here in America, and be the defender of that national pride that doesn't matter what country you're in, but stop feeling like you should be ashamed of who you are. He's using this as a way to divide us. And that's why it's really important to understand who you're standing next to, because you can look at what Putin is saying and go, yeah, he's defending his culture and his country. But Putin, at least, is playing a game with that. And the Russians are planting the seeds or giving money to a lot of groups that would just as soon see the United States go to hell in a handbasket as well. It's really dangerous. But you'll read this book, and about half of it you'll go, yeah, he's right. I agree with that. If you don't understand what he's shooting for, it's dangerous. I think you'll really get a lot out of the book. It's Alexander Dugin, and I think he's just written one, The Great Awakening versus The Great Reset. And that'll tell you even more.
Yeah, it's wild. I've got to pull it up right here. And I feel like a lot of American politicians, American commentators aren't understanding exactly what you're talking about there. They're trying to write off Putin as a mad dog, as someone who's just crazy in the head, because they can't understand in their elite boardroom society that there are actually men out there who are brutish, who can be mean, who will invade, who will attack their societies. And we have to ask ourselves, what do we have to offer in response to this civilizational conflict that we're talking about, that he's talking about, the Orthodox Church, the Eastern civilization? What do we have to offer? And it can't be Walmart and McDonald's and consumerism and empty churches. There's a wonderful speech that some of your listeners probably have heard by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the Russian dissident, Soviet dissident, when he went to Harvard, and everyone expected him to pat them on the back and say how great you are. And he said he would rather be in the Soviet Union right now than in America because, well, in America, we are free. We lack the spiritual strength, and we lack the religion, and we lack the moral fiber that has gotten the Soviets, now the Russians, through all these years, and that will get their civilization through the front. It was a really biting and jarring and true, I think, condemnation of some of the issues that we're facing. And Western civilization is not going to be defended by Glenn Youngkin or Governor of Texas getting rid of Russian products in their liquor stores. It's going to be defended by us going to church, standing up, believing, and having leaders who believe as well.
Chris, will you just check back with me after you've read some Alexander Dugin? Because you get it. You absolutely get it. And very few people do. And it is.
Absolutely will.
Yeah. Please get back in touch with me. Thank you so much, Chris. Christopher Bedford. He is the founding partner of Right Forge and senior editor of The Federalist.
To point out that you're not recommending Alexander Dugin because you agree with him. You're talking about it because
did it sound like I was
Well, you're like, you need to read Alexander Dugin, then you'll get it. It's like, it's not because what he's saying is good, as you've covered a million times, but I don't know.
Yeah.